Welcome back to Watching the Throne on the Late Night Chat Network, episode 31. Hey, what's going on, everybody?
What's going on out there?
We got Jay up in the studio here today. We're doing this live and in person. And by the time you watch this, I guess we'll be a little bit late with the release of this episode, but we're starting to bank them again for you guys. And shout out to our last guest, Christina, who was on much of the season 3 with us discussions. She was on quite a few episodes there in season 3 of Game of Thrones. So that was a lot of fun. And stay tuned. We have actually another guest coming on for season 4 very shortly, which I gotta actually confirm. I think he'll be coming on very soon though. So stay tuned for that one. But Jay, what's going on? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm enjoying doing this, man. How you doing? Sorry, I'm just getting I just like to get my IMBD ready too as well with my notes.
Yeah, well, that's the thing too. I'll mention this at the top of the show here. Is I actually I changed up a little bit of how I collected the information for the kind of the scene breakdown this time around with some assistance from some helpful sites and even for the quotes and stuff like that. I'm trying to make it a little bit more efficient when I'm actually writing down the notes, but we'll see because I think this might leave room for more discussion on our part.
Mhm.
But some of these descriptions of I feel like of these scenes here in terms of the breakdown are not going to actually sound like it came from me because it didn't come from me in that sense, but it kind of gave me the freedom to kind of really enjoy watching the episode more than having to actually
Yeah,
write
write it.
down. Right. So, and we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. So just, putting that out there, guys. Since this is our first episode back, just me and Jay kind of going through these next couple of episodes together, that I changed my approach up a little bit. So let me know, if this works well.
Yeah, see if he throws me off.
But yeah, season 4, here we are. This was the next couple of episodes, some big things start to happen,
Yeah, I
after
wasn't expecting some of these things. Yeah.
we'll get into them. But what do you think of this episode overall, Jay? And once again, everybody, if it's your first time checking out the show, make sure you subscribe. We see like the views going up in these episodes. Thank you for tuning in and checking these out.
Straight
Make
up.
sure you hit that subscribe button. You can check out any of our other episodes for these in the playlist here on our YouTube channel. And we're putting these out weekly, and we're going to continue watching these probably all the way up to House of the Dragon, hopefully, because maybe by the time we get to that
I
point,
was just thinking that in my head, bro.
it should be returning, hopefully. But with this, right, with the strike and everything going on in Hollywood right now, I don't know. I know this is
Hey,
it's affecting a lot of shows, and they already said that it was going to take a couple of years for this next season to come out. So we'll see what ends up happening, right? Like you by this time next year, you might have an AI presenting the show or something. I don't know the
hey,
way
who
things are
knows,
going.
man?
Let's hope
This is
not.
still in this. I'm still at home, man. You guys think I'm somewhere else? No, I'm at home. This is just a green screen, guys. It worked out good though.
Exactly.
But yeah,
So no. All joking aside, though,
yeah.
yeah, that'll be fun. And these have been fun episodes to put out. And yeah, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, or hit us up in the comments. And you can always go back and check out some of our other content here on the channel. But yeah, this is a review show where I'm watching the show actually for the second time only. I've only watched it the first time these episodes aired. I've never gone back and rewatched it. And Jay over here is actually experiencing Game of Thrones for the very first time,
So
which thankfully no one's really spoiled things for him, which I'm actually pretty happy about because there's been some big things that have happened in these episodes we've been talking about.
yeah,
And not having heard a lot of this stuff, Jay, it's pretty nice that you haven't been spoiled on a lot of this
well,
stuff years later, right?
yeah.
So
It's not like first of all you can find much of it on the internet, just on your feed anymore or doing anything like that. Or plus also, I never got into that water cooler talk that everybody used to have with this show because I never watched it. I wasn't one of those ones for me. So
right.
yeah, it's good. It's just like you said at the beginning of the show, it's a little different. When you have to you're changing your format, but it's a little different when you have to watch the show and take notes at the same time because it's almost like you want to write down everything and figure everything out. And but you don't have to. I mean, it really just plays out itself. What between what I remember and what Nico's remembering, it does play out pretty good. I think so. Hopefully,
Yeah.
yeah. I end up writing 7 pages, but we'll see.
But yeah, this is the episode 1 of season 4 that we're here to talk about today. It's called Two Swords. Jay, what do you think of this overall?
This one was all right, man. It's a good start to the new season. I think, considering I've already watched ahead a bit, so it's really interesting to see. I like to see where this whole series takes us to. This whole
Mhm.
season, sorry, not series, but this whole season takes us to.
Yeah.
I'm getting strangled over here by my own necklaces, but yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens. But no, this one overall, it gave me some good stuff that was coming up, and gave me some glimpse into a few things. As some people are coming up that we haven't been introduced or yet been introduced to, and stuff like that. So I can't wait for this season. So it should be interesting. I
Yeah.
haven't gone I haven't gone farther than the third episode yet. So
Right.
yeah, I'm kind of only right there right now.
No, this episode was great. I think, like you said, this as a first episode to the season, I think this is probably one of the best ones that we've actually seen so far, quite honestly. And I love the fact that they waste no time. We finally see Pedro Pascal here, Prince Oberyn in this episode, which was pretty
Yes.
awesome. I mean, because we've been talking about him for a while. Of course, Pedro Pascal being as popular as he is right now, kind of going back and seeing him in this role it was pretty fun to see him once again because he is such a polarizing character, I think, in
He
this.
looks a lot
So
younger though.
oh yeah, he is. I mean, you got to remember, man, this is like what we're going on. When was
20
this?
years, almost
Yeah,
15,
almost.
20 years.
Yeah, so like of course he was a lot younger here, right?
Yeah, it's
So
just it threw me off because I had to double check. I was like, is that him?
that's him. Yeah,
And
man.
I'm like, I wonder what kind of part he's gonna play. But we'll
Mhm.
see. We'll have to see with this one. He's a
Yeah.
little interesting, that character.
Yeah, he is a pretty awesome character. Also,
Apparently,
I
he's got some
guess,
balls.
you know, I think he wastes no time, and he basically his whole thing is that again he's very fluid with his sexuality. This guy, right? He wastes no time, I think, letting you know that
Yeah, that's
upon
what I mean.
seeing him in
Just the
this.
way he's acting, just the way he
It's a
comes off right
very
away.
different
Yeah,
role, I think, for him than you see nowadays because he plays a lot of tough guys in a lot of the shit he does now.
yeah,
Mandalorian,
yeah, yeah,
Last of Us, right?
yeah.
Like he's been in a lot of things. He played the cartel, and I think that other show on fucking
Yeah,
on Netflix, right?
Narcos.
Narcos.
Yeah,
So you've seen him in this is a very different role, I
yeah.
think, for him, right? But I think
I'm
he played.
surprised he kind of went from this to the other stuff that he did afterwards, right? Yeah,
Yeah, right. I mean, well,
it's
he's
kind
an
of tricky.
actor, right? I
But that
mean,
just shows you how good. I mean, he's come from a lot of, I think, other shows earlier in his career, and even what were you calling that? The arts, like on stage stuff.
sure,
Yeah, right. So I mean,
sure.
he's done a lot of this in Spanish stuff too. So that you know that he's got that talent in him, right?
Hmm.
So you
Well,
know,
let's get into it though. So the once again the episode's Two Swords opens up when
big name for this one.
we're in King's Landing, and we get this great scene at the start here with Tywin and Jamie here being back finally, right?
Yeah,
And Tywin, he basically has the ancestral Valerian steel great sword of House Stark. I guess it was held by the Lannisters since Eddard Stark's execution. Melted down, and it was melted down and reforged into two smaller swords. And basically, he gives one of these swords, hence the name of this episode, to Jamie in this scene, essentially.
yeah.
So, like, we at this
But
point in time, we don't know what he's doing with the other sword, but he does, as he's sitting there, kind of just like looking over the sword, being like, how did you even get Valerian steel? Because it's hard to come by.
yeah,
He kind of gloats about the fact that he got
he's
somebody
got somebody.
down
Yeah,
there who there's only a couple of the people in the world that are able to do this, and he basically reforged the Valerian steel that they had, and when they used the steel, they were able to get two swords out of it.
yeah.
So and he's basically giving one to Jamie in this scene, but he's scolding him as he tends to do in this scene as well. Because
did Jamie throw you off there? But when you first seen him, because
how so?
when I first seen him in his first viewing of this one on this season, he looked totally different. For some reason, I had to go back and look. I
Clean
know,
shaven,
yeah, I
cut
actually had to
hair.
look for
His
the
hair's
character to
not as
make sure.
long.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
was like,
yeah.
did they change the character? Are they gonna
No,
write in the notes? Oh, Jamie Lannister is now being played by blah
yeah.
blah blah.
No,
Right?
it's
Like,
yeah, no, I get you though, but you know what it is? It's just because he's not a fucking bum anymore. Like the
yeah,
last
traveling.
couple
Yeah,
of seasons, you've been seeing him as a
in
hostage,
the house.
right? So
Yeah,
now
so he had this long
he's
hair.
actually a much he cleans up
Yeah.
really nice. This guy, right? Yeah,
He's very presentable.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, you see him kind of like he has the sword in the fire in this opening scene, and he kind of he gives it, and Jamie's impressed, and that the Lannisters have not owned a Valyrian steel sword of their own for generations. And Tywin tells him he acquired the original sword from someone who no longer needed it, and then commissioned a Volantine blacksmith, and who are the best of those who can work with Valyrian steel to reforge it. He mentions that he wants Jamie to be his heir and return home to Casterly Rock, which Jamie insists on remaining in the Kingsguard. And then, his father, of course, gets on his case about the fact that he's got one fucking hand. And, what
How
the
you
fuck
gonna
is
fight with
he?
your left hand?
Right. He's
He's
basically,
got a fucking arm of steel, man. Like, what the fuck? Leave him alone, man. That's the first bionic guy I've ever known, man. That's probably the first one in history.
he's furious at Jamie's disobedience and lack of ambition. And basically,
He's tough. I like Jamie. I'm just starting to like him.
oh, I love it. I
You know
was,
what? He's very tough as a character.
I was about to say the one note I made about this scene was that, like,
Did you literally type it?
huh? No.
Oh,
I
I was gonna
I
say,
printed off some stuff
oh,
from the
cool. All right.
internet.
I was
Yeah.
like, I gotta save my hand.
No, but like I said, I'm trying it out. But
Nice.
I did write a note about this as well, about how he's coming around. Like
Yeah.
I this character's arc is one of my favorite in the series. I'll tell you that, because he starts out like such a piece of shit, and then he really comes around, and I actually really like Jamie. And this is kind of like the start of that, I think, right
It's
now.
kind of like he hit rock bottom and he's coming way up.
He's
and
been
Brienne
humbled.
and
He's
yeah.
been humbled, and I think he's starting to show more of himself. Between Brienne of Tar,
Yeah.
between the scenes that we get with him and Tyrion in this episode,
And
like they're
Cersei, all these people.
yeah,
He's been
he's
going back to sea.
you're starting to see another side of this character now.
It almost doesn't seem like a Lannister
No,
in a sense anymore,
no.
right? It's almost been washed away. I feel a little bit from him.
Well, I think
His loyalty still stands.
I think
In a sense, but
I think you're starting to see, though, that the cruelest amongst them, other than their father, is still Cersei, I would say.
I fucking bitch.
Sorry.
Yeah. She's a bitch, man. Yeah, she
that
is.
she is. That
Yes,
she is. You've
she
not
is.
seen anything yet.
No,
I'm just
no,
gonna throw
yeah,
that out there. That being said,
but I kind of
their
like it.
father is quite cruel as well, and their father, and the reason that they're all like this is because of his
Yeah.
parenting. Clearly,
Obviously,
right?
yeah.
Like it's
daddy issues.
daddy issues, exactly. So anyways, yeah, this is pretty much this scene here. This is kind of what we see here. There's a couple of good
What
quotes.
was that thing that he threw on top of the steel when it was in the fire? That's what I was trying to wonder. Was it like a hog or it was something dead?
It's a wolf pelt scabbard.
It had something to do with a wolf.
Yeah,
right?
it's a wolf pelt.
Like a baby wolf.
I guess.
What's
Yeah.
a pelt?
A pelt is the fur of the wolf.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
it's like the
fur.
yeah.
Thanks, bro. You made me feel like an idiot. But yeah, okay.
yeah. It's a wolf pelt. Yeah, that's what it says here in the notes that I have here. He tosses when he watches the process of it basically in the fire. He tosses the sword's wolf pelt scabbard on the smith's fire, smiling as he watches it burn. Yeah. So, anyways,
I think I wrote. What the hell did he write? Dog. Like, what did he throw on there? I didn't know what he threw on there. What animal did he throw? Like, what the fuck? Because it doesn't really show you. It's dark, right?
Right.
But,
A great quote from this scene though is the way he leaves it though. He's like he's so mean, this guy, man. He basically says a one-handed man with no family needs all the help he can get, because he's in the Kingsguard. He can't have kids because he's in the Kingsguard.
Yeah.
That's why he's trying to say to him, like, listen,
go have a family.
Yeah,
Rock.
the jig is up.
Yeah.
Like you can't be fucking in my Kingsguard anymore. You have one fucking hand.
But he said, "What are you gonna use? Who are you gonna use? Tyrion?" I think he said, "What are you gonna use? Tyrion?" yeah, Tyrion forever. I think at one point he had kind of made that cocky thing, like who's gonna be your Kingsguard, Tyrion?
Right.
Like,
But I also like this when he's like, he asks him straight up. He's like, "What do you want?" And he's like, "A supper would be nice."
yeah,
Like he
for
just
fuck's
basically just throws
sakes.
it in his fucking face. Like he's like, "I just went through all this shit, and now
Yeah,
I come here and you're shitting on me. You're
yeah,
basically saying I'm useless now to
yeah,
you." Like
yeah,
that's so again, like he gives with one hand and he takes away with the other.
yeah.
He caresses with one and slaps him with the other, bro. Like he's so cruel, the father. Like even in this moment when he's like trying to do something nice, he's basically like, yeah, you know what? No. He bosses his children around. He tells them what they're gonna do constantly,
Yeah,
all of them.
yeah.
Right? It doesn't
He's
matter.
dominant. He's the dominant one, man. But
Right.
there's a reason why. That's why he's the fucking king. Well, you know what I mean? He's Tywin.
And again, in this scene, Jamie is kind of like he says, like, you know what they call me? He's like Kingslayer, Oathbreaker. Like he's basically like, this is my legacy. Like essentially, like
Yeah,
he's basically like he's so bothered by this fact. Like, I mean, it comes up again later on too, but like
yeah.
it's some great scenes with Jamie. Like I said, he's a great character.
I was seeing a turn, a little bit of a different turn in
Yes,
this scenes,
he's been
in these
humble.
few scenes. Yeah,
Yeah.
right now that he's back with all the rich people again.
And then in the next scene here, we got Tyrion and Bronn and Podrick. They're waiting on the road outside the city for the arrival of Prince Doran Martell of Dorne in this scene, who has been invited to the royal wedding, which
Yeah,
is, of course, the king's wedding here. Your boy,
preparing for Joffrey's wedding,
Joffrey.
man. Yeah, that's
T-
I don't think it's this episode, is it?
uh, no, it's
It's
next
coming, yeah,
episode.
but
But
yeah,
anyway, so
they bring it up.
Tyrion quizzes Bronn here on the different sigils of the Dornish houses while they're kind of staying there and they see these people arriving. And Podrick is he answers perfectly. You know, what's his name? Bronn doesn't know shit. Lord Blackmount approaches them on horseback and says Prince Doran is in poor health and has remained at Sunspear. Doran's brother, however, Prince Oberyn, which is, of course, as I previously
Pedro.
mentioned, Pedro Pascal, will be attending the
These
wedding in
names are
this
weird.
place.
These names are so weird. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, Oberyn. Like, what the hell is that? I'm gonna name my if I have a kid, guys. That's what I'm gonna name it, Oberyn.
Yeah.
You know, why not?
And the great part about this is that he finds out he's like, oh yeah, no, he's already in your city. He arrived before dawn. He's
Yeah.
like, because so there is Tyrion trying to greet this fucking guy, and he's like, well, where is he? He's like, is he in there? And he's like, no, he's already here in your city. And then this is what he has a look on his face. He's like, oh fuck, this guy's already here.
Yeah.
He's all right. We must go. Like he's like basically starts to like he run off, right?
Well,
Because
he
he's
had a
like,
good quote in this one, Tyrion, about
yeah,
that.
go ahead.
About no, I didn't write it down, but I know he said something about where if you were on the if you came here and it took you that long, where would you be? Right?
Yeah, about Broad. I have it
Yeah.
here coming. I'll have the quote
Yeah.
here. Basically, yeah,
I wrote-
Tyrion then says that they should find Oberyn as soon as possible before he kills somebody or several somebodies. Yeah, because he's like, because he was trying to explain like there's actually bad blood between this family and the Lannisters.
Yeah.
which
Well,
we-
who's got the bigger penis? That's why I think it's called Two Swords. I'm starting to wonder. Maybe that was a hidden message.
He says there's bad blood between the Martells of Dorne and the Lannisters of Casterly Rock. Has been for years. And just in case the Martells of Dorne are looking to spill some Lannister blood, it may as well be yours. That's what he says, because he's telling Bronn all this as they're standing there, and he basically says like, why the fuck are they letting you do this if this is the case, right? Like why are we putting our necks out here? And he says we must find Prince Oberyn before he kills somebody or several somebodies. How do you plan on finding a single Dornishman in a city this big? You're famous for fucking half of Westeros. You just arrived at the capital after 2 weeks of bad road. Where would you go? He's like, I'd probably go to sleep, but I'm getting old.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it, man. You know, I know a lot of people that would say that first. I'd be going to the whorehouse. But
Yeah.
I know a lot of friends of mine that'd be going, I'm
Right.
going home to sleep.
So this guy being fond of fucking anything that moves, this is where we find him in the next scene here in the whorehouse.
Yeah, so
right?
I'm starting to think, okay, somebody cool's coming on. Let's see what this is like. I don't know who I'm getting ready for,
Pedro.
and you know, like I'm trying to figure out, like, yeah, he's at a whorehouse. I'm getting ready. Titties are gonna come out, and then bang, look at him with a haircut. Holy fuck!
Yeah. So let's take a look at this guy.
All
here.
these guys, yeah, they got haircuts now because you know they're on different shows, and you know we're watching them on like shows that are like at the end of the world, like you know. Pedro, I watched Pedro Pascal. The last one we've seen him in, like we said, is the DC
Last of
Marvel. Sorry, the video game one. Sorry, guys, I can't speak.
Yeah, there he is.
Look at him. Yeah, he's so handsome. Look at him. He's such a beautiful man. No, like really, he should be in like GQ or something.
so
He
so
might be, bro. I mean, he's got that. You know what? I didn't expect him to have those big glasses in real life. Those thick ass
oh yeah,
glasses.
yeah,
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 I didn't
sure, yeah,
expect that
yeah,
for
yeah.
some reason. He must be blind. It's a bat.
Prince Oberyn and his bastard paramour, Ilaria Sand, are examining prostitutes in a brothel owned by Peter Baelish, but currently managed by Oliver, as Lord Baelish is now in the Vale, which we saw him leave at the end of the last season.
Yeah.
Although we haven't checked in with him yet in these
No.
first couple episodes, so I'm really interested to see what ends up happening with him again there. But
Avalish?
Baelish, yeah,
Yeah,
because we
Baelish.
haven't seen him.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So they end up choosing the contortionist Marie, and Oberyn orders Oliver to get undressed also, which is the guy who's working there who says, like, I'm not for sale. And he's like, well, no, anything is for sale here in
Anything's for
Baelish.
sale. Yeah.
And luckily, it turns out the guy also swings that way because he seems a little bit excited by this idea after he says no to him. Although, like, my question to you was, would he have a fucking choice in this matter? It's because it seems like he didn't even fucking care. He's just like, yeah, you're gonna take your clothes off too. And if Buddy wasn't into that, like, what the fuck?
You know
bro?
what, man? I give the show credit because it is before a big period like this. If this show came out 20 years ago, it was a lot of time, big time before a lot of these TV shows. So this had like a big for them to do
Why
to
you
go.
find that you think they were being progressive by putting all
Yeah,
these
well,
sexuality
no,
stuff?
in a sense, because they were probably one of the pioneers to do it, which is a
Right,
good thing, not
right,
not a bad thing,
right.
right? They're doing it
I would
so
say they're the
subtle,
pioneers, but
but
they definitely
they
didn't
there
make
was how
it.
many shows back then really did that? Not many. So
No,
20 years ago, as compared to let's say today's
right,
standards, right?
sure.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, for sure,
yeah.
for sure,
But
for
it's
sure.
cool, man, because they do it so. There's a lot of scenes that are very good the way they do it. I mean, there's some scenes that are pigs that would do it. Would
Well, I
watch
think
it, right?
HBO is
But
kind of
that's
like
like anything.
HBO. I think a lot of their shows at least explored this kind of stuff because, like I said, we
They
talked about
very
The
much so.
Wire.
Yeah.
Omar, a character on The
Omar,
Wire,
yep.
was openly gay, and like that was a big deal for that time
That
too.
was the
And
same thing,
and
right?
not only that, it was a big deal because we talked about that too, guys. If you ever go back in our late night chat network feed, we actually covered the whole first season of The Wire. Me and Jay talked about it, kind of did like a deep dive conversation on that. And on that, I had read an article because right around the same time he had died, the guy who played Omar, and I pulled up an article when we were talking about that episode of him saying how big of a deal it was for him not only to show a gay man on TV represented that way, but also a gay black man at that time, which was a big deal. He had said, and that really opened up a lot of opportunities as an actor for him after leaving that show,
and a lot of for more people too.
Exactly, and
right?
for representation on TV, exactly. Yeah. So that's. And so yeah, absolutely, I hear what you're saying in that sense. Yeah, and it's cool that he plays this character in this for absolutely. So
I'd like to see how his character plays out because he's starting to seem very aggressive. Like he's a very straightforward type of character in this one. It's not like survival or like he's from the future and the Mandalorian and all that stuff. So this is kind of interesting, man.
So yeah, so basically Oberyn, though, while they're trying to get their fuck on here, Oberyn is infuriated when he hears men singing The Rains of Castamere in the other room, which of course now we know it is because that's the song that they played at the Red Wedding in the last season, right?
Well, when we in the last scene, he forgot to mention that he did the universal handshake, right? He did the
that's right.
right?
Yeah.
That was the introduction to Pedro. That's how we kind of got it. So
Yeah.
everybody's for sale.
Yeah. Oh,
hello to you.
He ends up confronting the two Lannister soldiers who insult him and Ilaria after he confronts them about playing that song. Oberyn moves closer and basically, chastises them for being pink little men who are far too slow on the draw rather than being golden lions. One of the soldiers reaches for his sword and Oberyn quickly stabs him through the wrist with a dagger and tells the other that his friend will only live if he immediately gets help. Tyrion and Bronn enter, and Oberyn and Tyrion step outside to speak privately at this moment. Oberyn says he wants revenge for the murder of his niece, Rhaenys. Now,
see, this is
where House of the Dragon comes into play.
I know, because this is what I said. It doesn't look like he likes the Lannisters, and then I started hearing Targaryen. What's it called? Yeah, I started hearing the Targaryens' names, like
Well, Reina, which is the woman that we were introduced to, you already seen her in the first season of House of
Yeah.
the Dragon,
Yeah.
and his nephew Aegon. So we're already
Aegon, that's what I was saying. Yeah.
they're name dropping people that he's related to that are actually on the House of the Dragon show in this scene, which is really interesting. Because if you look it up, let's take a look here. I'll show you who that person is on the show.
Aegon, the character here. Let's put all the pictures here. One who plays who on on House of Dragons.
Well, here I'll show you this.
The picture.
Yeah,
Yeah.
here this is her. This chick.
Oh yeah, the one that's married to the black guy.
Yes,
Yeah.
the Valerian.
Yeah, Valerian. Yeah.
Okay, so that's who that is. That's who he's referring to in this scene. He says he wants revenge for the murder of his niece. So we know that she's murdered now on House of the Dragon at some point, because if she's been murdered, that's his niece apparently.
How is that his niece? Wouldn't that make him wait? That would make him the uncle. Oh yeah, that would make him the uncle. That makes him young. Her younger because it
Right.
pre-exists him, right?
So I guess this is why there's bad blood between the Lannisters and him. Yeah, I don't know how it all works either.
Yeah.
But this is Aegon, or at least this is Aegon the Second. I guess I don't know who he was referring to when he said this, because
The name dropping. Maybe it was the name was passed on for like the next, for a little bit.
So this is okay. So he said Rhaenys and his nephew Aegon. So this is him. Here, hold on. This is, you know him from the House of the Dragon as well. Here, I'll show you in a second.
Yeah, that's the brother, right?
Mhm.
Of
Yep.
of
No, the son.
the weird. Oh wait,
His rule is currently disputed by his older half sister Rhaenyra Targaryen. Yeah, that's the brother.
Yeah, it's for some reason
of Rhaenyra.
Yeah,
so there you go. I mean,
I know the names.
That's very interesting. So he says he wants revenge for the murder of his niece Rhaenys and his nephew Aegon, and the rape and murder of his sister Elia, which I'm not sure who she is, during the sack of King's Landing by Lannister troops during Robert's rebellion. So this is apparently when this all goes down.
That just happened. I feel like
no, I mean they referenced it. They referenced it, but it didn't actually.
Roberts was
Robert Baratheon.
Okay, so not the Robert.
No, the king that we started out the show with.
Yeah, the drunken.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He wants Gregor Clegane, who murdered Elia, and Tywin, who Oberyn believes gave the order for Elia and her children to be killed. So yeah, he's dropping some real facts here during this scene, right? Mm-hmm. So that's real interesting, but that's kind of like, this is kind of the scene where they do drop a lot of information.
I feel like Tyrion is almost a little intimidated by him.
Of course, because he's got his fucking he has every right to be
Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've invited him into their home for this wedding now, right? And already, like he said, there's fucking the bad blood between them runs deep for these fucking for this shit, right? I mean,
and they both have money, because the way he describes himself, he had money. He seems to have money, right? He seems not like like he's worried about that, right? So
a couple of notes I made about these scenes, though, is I loved how when he came into the room, when he went to go speak to those guys, Pedro Pascal, just a little thing though about his acting in this scene. I really loved it. If you notice, he walks by like a candle that's beside him. And the way he even puts his hand over the open flame of the candle, as he strolls in, it's just a little subtle move that he does. But I really he really draws your attention right from the fucking get-go of this character, right?
He
demands your attention. No, that's what I mean. His fucking dress is cool, whatever, the way he's dressed. The gown or whatever he's got going on there. I don't know what it is, but it's really cool. But again, the way he even brushes in the scene, and there's a candle at the side. It was just something I noticed. I was that's really fucking cool. He put his hand over the flame or open flame.
How many shots you think it took before they said, "Oh, let's put a candle there"?
I don't know, but that's what I mean. But if it was just in the scene and he did that, you know what I mean? That's why this guy's a good actor. That's what I mean. He really fucking.
I didn't catch that, to be honest with you, but yeah, I get what you're saying. in that sense. I just walking over there, that flame beside him. He put his hand like literally like this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't notice it. Maybe I was
Yeah.
taking
It was
notes
just
at
a
that time.
nice little subtle move, man. That's what I mean. So it was really fucking cool.
Yeah, to see that. No, I get it what you're saying because it's to be honest with you, uh, the way they actually film stuff, and it's really cool to see how it's put together. Right?
Mhm.
It's really neat, man. They don't mess around.
Braun, of course, as always, has one of the best lines in this scene too. Is where he's like, he asks him like, "What are you, his hired killer?" It started that way. He's like, "Now I'm a knight." It's like,
Yeah.
how did that come to pass? He's
Yeah.
like, "Killed the right people."
Shit, they killed the right people. Straight up, man. Uh,
Yeah, that's one of the quotes. Braun always has some of the best lines, right? But the way that he ended this scene though is the fucking badass fucking line of this scene is Oberyn, Pedro. The way he ended this scene, though, I
which
have
one?
this
Yeah,
quote here. He's like, and my sister, you know what they did to her? Because he's questioning Tyrion in the scene, right? He's like, I'm asking you a question. He's like, I've heard rumors.
yeah.
So have I. The one I keep hearing is that Gregor Clegane, the Mountain, raped Elia, who we've already seen the Mountain,
Mountain, yeah.
and split her in half with his great sword. He's like, I wasn't there. Tyrion's like, I don't know what happened. If the Mountain killed my sister, your father gave the order. Tell your father I'm here, and tell the Lannisters. Tell him the Lannisters aren't the only ones who pay their debts.
That's
Yeah,
what I mean.
right.
Yeah. Because that's when he walked
Badass.
by. Yeah, then he walks by Tyrion, and Tyrion just has that like look of, that he's nervous. You know what I mean? That he's a little intimidated,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah,
He's worried.
he has him dead to rights, right? Like he's
But
just like,
you can see something's going on in Tyrion's head, man. I feel that he's trying to work out a plan in some sort
he
of
always
fucking
is. Of
sense,
course,
bro.
if he's cunning like
He's
that,
ahead
right?
of, yeah.
Yeah,
He's thinking ahead,
absolutely,
man.
absolutely. So, all right, so now we bounce back over to Slaver's Bay where Daenerys
Khaleesi's.
is
I call it the
currently the
Khaleesi's, man.
Khaleesi. Yeah.
You keep calling it Daenerys, I call it Khaleesi's, whatever. It's just easier. I don't know.
She sits near the sea with her 3 dragons, each one about the size of a small horse at this point in
They're pretty
time.
big now, yeah.
Yeah, Daenerys strokes Drogon's head while Rhaegal and Viserion fight over a dead lamb. These are the, I guess,
And
her.
that's the top of the dragon's head. Okay,
Yeah,
guys, don't be.
As Daenerys tries to calm him down without warning, Drogon snaps at her with a hiss, a warning to not interfere. He then roars and goes to contest the kill. This act that her own children would threaten her and that they are outgrowing her influence and ability to reign them leaves Daenerys visibly shaken. Jorah Mormont approaches and tells her that the dragons can never be tamed, not even by their mother. Daenerys returns to her unsullied army to resume the march to Meereen. She notices Grey Worm and Dario Naharis are absent and sets out to find them after told that they are gambling.
Yeah.
She finds the 2 men sitting face to face, holding their weapons in front of them. They have been contesting their endurance since midnight, just basically just sitting there with their sword.
They're just holding them,
right?
one against the other one, and see who moves first.
Yeah, she gets frustrated that they're doing this, and she states that the honor goes to Jorah and Sir Barristan for being upfront riding with her, because that's basically what they're betting on, is the who will ride up front with her. They want to be closer to her, right? I mean, we already know that Dario Naharis is in love with her, but I guess Grey Worm wants to be up there with her as well, right? Because I guess he has a lot of respect for her and stuff like that.
Exactly.
So fucking Dario comes in. He's trying to fucking take over already with this situation, right? She says, "No, I'm sorry, that's already Sir Jorah and Sir Barristan." And they did not, basically, she's like, and they didn't keep me waiting all morning. Like, so he basically says, like, she orders the 2 men to ride at the back of the army with the livestock. Daenerys also adds that the last man holding his sword shall find a new queen to fight for, and both men immediately drop the sword in
same
that
time,
scene.
though.
Yeah,
it's the same time. Like I went back to see just to see how quick they dropped it, who had the better release.
same time. Yeah.
For some reason I want to see who was quicker there.
So, anyways, from there we bounce back to King's Landing here.
You know what's funny though, because I thought they could speak to the dragons and they understood them. You know what I mean? That's why I'm wondering if why when he said they couldn't be tamed, because I'm looking back into, like, let's say,
well, they listen.
House of Dragons.
They listen to Daenerys, but I don't feel like she speaks dragon. No,
she's not like, I didn't see like that. What I seen in House of Dragons, where they really were communicating with each other. They really were in more of the House of Dragons.
I don't recall that. Was that the case?
They were because they can understand the dragon.
Okay.
In that sense, right? So it was kind of weird. I don't know if it was just the way they're used to
Maybe that just
swinging.
develops over time, right? I mean, they
Yeah,
definitely listen to her, so I mean,
yeah.
she must
When
be they
they
must
say
be
come,
understanding her,
yeah, they get
right?
obedient. But I mean, yeah, dude, they're ripping apart a goat, man.
Yeah,
Leave them alone,
lamb.
a lamb or whatever.
So back in King's Landing, Tyrion, Sansa, Shay, and another handmaiden are sitting in a garden. Sansa is still distraught over the deaths of her brother and mother. Tyrion attempts to console his wife but fails. Sansa has heard the gruesome details of the Red Wedding, how the corpses of her mother and brother were desecrated. Sansa then leaves for the Godswood, not to pray, but because it's the only place that no one talks to her. Where she
Yeah,
mentions
she
that
straight up
she's
said
walking
that to
away.
fucking
Yeah,
Tyrion. I think
yeah, because she doesn't have to put on her like she doesn't have to fucking fake this stuff over there.
she
Like
can
she can be
cry, she can
alone.
do whatever she
Exactly.
wants, man. The poor girl, man. Fuck, man. She keeps hearing bad news. That's all she keeps hearing.
I
Imagine
know.
getting that call, like not that call, obviously, but that somebody delivering that message to you, and it's probably 3 weeks in the past already, right? In a sense, well,
Mm.
it's a whole season to be honest with you in the past, but yeah. But the poor girl, man.
I like this line though
She's
that
so
when
quiet.
Tyrion does try to console her, he starts talking about her mother and he says, and she was fierce when it came to protecting her children.
Yeah,
Sansa, your mother would want you to carry on. You know it's true.
yeah,
Like I really liked what he said to her in that moment. Like he knows that this is like a sham of a marriage, but he does try to
yeah.
like do right by her, even like in this arranged kind of situation, right? And yeah, great scene and some nice words from Tyrion in this, right? Anyway, so then fucking Shay,
He asked her
after,
if she wanted some drugs, basically, to sleep.
right,
Yeah, what was
yeah,
it? The essence of nightshade to sleep,
yeah,
or something like that. That was
yeah.
hilarious. I was wondering what kind of drug that was.
But this next scene, you got Shay just going for it. She surprises Tyrion in a sexy way after being told to excuse herself when he was speaking to his wife there in that last scene, right? And she surprises him in the room there if he finds her in his bed.
She wants
And
to bang him. Damn.
yeah, he scolds her because no one can find out about their relationship. She attempts to seduce him, but he resists. She accuses him of trying to bribe her with diamonds, which this is when she brings up the thing that happened with Varys in the last season.
Yeah, he's stressed out about a lot of the stuff that's been happening in his family. I notice in that
Oh, of
sense.
course, like especially with this fucking whole thing with Oberyn that just started up too, right? Like his nuts are in fucking his head's in a vice right
Vice,
now,
yeah,
right?
man.
So
It's like fuck, poor
so
guy.
and this is a scene where like Tyrion's like, I have no idea what you're talking about, and it seems like he didn't actually send Varys after it. And Varys did say he was there on his own accord, but she didn't believe it, if you recall.
Yeah,
But it seems like in this scene, by the look on his face, he legitimately doesn't know what she's talking about because he doesn't admit to like sending Varys after her, like to
yeah.
send her the diamonds,
Well,
right?
yeah.
So that's what I was gonna ask you. Like, do you believe it? Because I think I do in this scene. It seems legit. Like he
That
does.
what
He's
that he
not the one
didn't
that sent him.
no,
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
think originally he sent him
No,
either, right?
no.
Like
She
I
was
know he
convinced
wanted
though.
her out of there, but he
Yeah,
was just trying to figure out how to get her out, right?
yeah.
And he did it because well, we kind of find out in the scene too, right? Why is when they're talking about it, right? I think it's coming up when he's talking to him about that, right? But I think it's because he's got nobody left right now on
Yeah.
his side, so he needs a partner in a
Well,
sense.
he truly believes that
And
Tyrion will
that
be able to make change in the city.
they're
Like,
one and the
and
same in a sense.
yeah, and they
They
both
can
want
talk.
what's best for King's Landing in
Yeah,
that sense. And he thinks that he actually because of the fact that he's a Lannister and that they're ruling there right now, he thinks, and he actually has a brain on him.
yeah,
He thinks that he actually is maybe their only hope of actually changing things
yeah.
there, right? And he stated that. But yeah, she angrily leaves the room, but is then spotted by the handmaiden who is hiding behind a pillar and has overheard their conversation, which is that's
Weird.
bad. That's bad news for her, man, that she
Yeah,
spotted that, right? Which because as we know, Cersei has been looking for something to fucking use against him this whole time, right? So we end up seeing that go down.
yeah,
And then, we waste no time as the next scene here. We have Jamie, Cersei, and Qyburn. That's the guy who came from the Meister, who came from the last situation there. He traveled with Jamie and cared for him, like with his arm, right?
yeah.
And he's sitting there in the chambers, and Cersei has had a golden prosthetic hand made for Jamie, and Qyburn attaches it to Jamie's stump. He asks Cersei about her symptoms, and she says that they are gone. After Qyburn departs, Jamie tells her that he will stay in the Kingsguard with one hand so he can stay close to her, then tries to kiss her, but she turns away. And like all I had to say about this is like this is really fucked up, this moment. Like I know it's fucked up the fact that he's like in love with his sister already, but like she is so fucking cold to him for no fucking reason in this scene. Like
I kept thinking
like
it's the stump, man.
I, I
Well,
just
he wanted a hook, poor guy.
yeah, yeah, but
She is very.
she's like she basically blames him for getting injured and taking so fucking long to return to her.
Yeah.
Like what the fuck? Like
She's a weird. She's a weird.
right?
Yeah, and
Like
that's his sister too. And it's he hasn't. He goes a little bit of like he tried to lean in for that kiss, and he's just
yeah.
like, I know it's kind of weird because it's his sister and whatever, but still.
Yeah. But like, listen, I also like when Qyburn when he dismissed himself. You see Jamie with his new hand, like waving at him goodbye, and he's leaving the right. But there's a couple of good quotes here, though. Let's see here. He's like, not now, and he's like, when? I've been back for weeks. She's like, something's changed. Everything's changed. You come back after all this time with no apologies in one hand and expect everything to be the same. He's like, what do you want me to apologize for leaving me? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you, lady? Like, like she's like, you
He
think
was captured.
he says, you think I wanted to be taken prisoner? He's like, I don't know what you wanted. You weren't here. You left me alone. Every day I was a prisoner. I plotted my escape every day. I murdered people so I could be here with you. He's like, you took too long. Like, I just brutal. Like,
Yeah.
again, like,
No,
I'm not,
It's
I'm
so
not,
fucking weird.
yeah, it's really strange. Like, it's all about her, apparently. Like, it's really fucked up.
She's
Like,
very selfish, man.
yeah, it's so fucked up. And I know we're talking about a brother and sister here, guys, but like I mean, still, like,
But yeah, just the way she's brushing him off. They were banging last time he left,
right.
right? You know what I mean? And then now all of a sudden it's like, oh
Uh,
yeah,
and
who
then
were you?
and then Cersei implies that she has taken other lovers and that their relationship has changed because of his lengthy absence. A statement that clearly wounds Jamie. Bernadette suddenly enters, the handmaiden, and says she has important information for Cersei. So yeah, so now
And it stops and goes to the next scene.
So now we're in the north. Ygritte and Tormund of the Wildlings stand outside a stone ravine. Tormund basically gives her shit for failing to finish off Jon Snow. Suddenly, their scouts signal that someone is approaching. And this is where we get introduced to new characters, a
These are
band
big
of
boys.
Thens.
Yeah,
Yeah,
these
and
are weird characters.
these guys are fucking
No,
hardcore
These are the
looking.
ones
These
with
guys.
the lines, right?
Yeah,
Those
it's
are
got
the
like
ones with the lines.
tattoos all, or
Yeah.
like, not tattoos, but like
No, they're just like almost like lines, like veins popping out. It almost
it's like
looks
they carved into his
Yeah,
like
it's like a popped up scar almost, in a
yeah,
sense.
exactly. They're like scars,
yeah.
bro. The one note I made about this is like these guys are scary looking. These fucking guys, yeah. These guys
They
like
had that powder look to them, like like that movie.
they basically say that the powder look. They basically say that these guys are also on the on, but they're basically like wildlings, but they're on the other side of the wall.
Yeah.
Right, like they
Yeah.
said that they're on like another direction
Yeah.
outside of the wall,
Or,
right?
yeah,
Like,
or maybe even further out. Who knows?
yeah. So, but basically, in this scene, what you learn about these guys is that they're cannibals for one, and that they also are not very friendly with the wildlings. It seems like it looks like Tormund is no fan of theirs. Like he's just like, oh fuck these guys, right? Like when he sees them walk up. But he mentions basically, he mentions that the meat tastes so much better south of the wall, and he gives Tormund shit for losing their warg as well as Jon. He reminds Tormund how the Night's Watch are feasting and getting fat at Castle Black, and basically suggests that Tormund tastes crow meat before he dies as a human arm roasts over the fire. Yeah.
That was crazy. But what was when he said when Tormund said something about he's only going to answer to he asked him if Mence sent him. Who's Mence? I think it was Mence, MEN and MEN.
Oh, I don't know who that is, but they're called Thens. These people.
Yeah, those guys are Thens, but I don't know if they had a leader, a specific leader.
Oh, okay. That's probably what he was referring to then. Yeah.
I have to check that out as it goes through when I see the name here.
Here, I can bring
on.
up the picture of this guy though. I want to
bring that up because I'm gonna see who this Mence. What he referred to him. We didn't actually see him, so that was the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it was.
But yeah, these guys are scary looking though.
They're different. Yeah. They're a different type. I mean, we're starting to get into a lot of different things, right? So
yeah,
a lot of different things introduced into this show, which I'm starting to like because this is becoming more and more You know,
Yeah,
interesting.
the
It's not.
world is expanding. Yeah,
Yeah, interesting. I know it's fantasy and whatever, and it's not real. I mean, it's loosely, the probably based on a style
yeah.
of
This is
living.
how he looks right here. This guy.
Yeah, man. Those are the. I wonder what those are scars, eh? They gotta be.
Yeah, there's scars for sure.
This guy's dead in real life. I thought it said died underneath. Maybe the character.
Yeah, he
Oh,
probably maybe that was a spoiler.
yeah. I didn't see it. I didn't get to see the date, so I was like,
Then we go back to the wall here at the wall at Castle Black. Jon Snow has survived the injuries inflicted by Ygritte at the end of the last season. If you guys remember, he got shot with like fucking 4 arrows and rode in on his last dying breath there almost. Yeah. And he's largely recovered, though he still grimaces while getting dressed and walks with a slight limp. Having been told of Rob's death at this point, Jon shares with Sam that he had always been jealous of Rob for having more of their father's affection and for being better than him at riding and fighting and with the girls. Despite all this, he says he could never bring himself to hate Rob. Sam responds by saying he has felt the same way about Jon, that Jon is better than him at everything apart from reading. Right? So, but this is interesting here. So it turns out that Sam has been sent to retrieve Jon, who has been summoned to testify before a panel of 5 sworn brothers, including Maester Aemon, acting Lord Commander Alliser Thorne, First Builder Othel Yarwick, and the exiled former Lord Commander of the King's Landing City Watch, Janos Slynt. So he stands in front of these people. He discusses basically the fact that he was out there. He says he refers to the wildling as free folk, and basically Slynt accuses him of going native, like being one with these people. He's like, "What are you talking about? You're talking to them about them like you know them." And he's like, "Yeah, I ate with them. I climbed the wall with them." He's like, "I do know them. Like I was with these people." Like, and they're basically putting him on trial because he killed the other guy from the he basically killed the other dude that got caught as a prisoner with them that was from the Night's Watch. And they're like, how could you kill one of your own? And in this scene, Jon also admits to the fact that he slept with one of them. And he's like, "Well,
this is where I was getting worried about. Like, is this deceit?
I mean, at least he's honest." But he says, like, "Well, then you've broken your oath. You've broken your oath." They're like, "This is like open and shut." They tried to say to him, like, "You can't be a part of the Night's Watch anymore." But then he goes on to say, like, "I have all this information about them now, though, that we can use to our advantage," like, essentially, right? Like,
smart role,
yeah. So he kind of lets them know that, like, he says, that there's a difference. He says there's a difference between sneaking off to the mole's town brothel and sleeping with the enemy, basically, right? He mentions Jon does not defend himself at this point and instead he says that Mance Rayder intends to attack the Night's Watch. Mance Rayder intends to attack the Night's Watch with his army of 100,000 wildlings and gives intelligence on Mance's plan of attack. Both Thorne and Slynt disbelieve what Jon has to say. Aemon, however, realizes that Jon is speaking the truth, and the hearing ends with Jon being allowed to keep his head, although after Jon leaves. Thorne expresses his distrust for Jon in this scene. So right now he's not on good terms with a lot of the Night's Watch people.
I thought they were gonna kill him then. Like they were gonna say they were gonna fucking
behead
him. So I was like, oh man, this is how he's gonna die. Come on.
It came mighty close, but he had that.
Sex.
He was able to give them that information, and like he said, well, then you're too valuable to us for us to kind of kick you out or kill you now. So so basically right now he's been given another day to basically to live, right? He's extended his life.
He's extended his life for who knows how long.
But yeah, interesting scene. I think this was a pretty good scene actually for Jon to actually confront his peers there and kind of admit all this. That kind of had no
choice, right? In that sense,
he had to answer for what he had done, right? Yeah, exactly.
So
that was really interesting.
I thought they made a comment about his old man. Well, they called him a bastard. I know that. So they were trying to use that against him. Like that made a big deal. But I mean, most of them aren't they? That are on the fucking Night's Watch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think we're getting into the grandmother Marjorie now. This should be interesting.
Mm-hmm. So this is a good quote from this scene, though. He says, he mentions as they're talking to Jon in the council here, he's like, "None of us are free. We are men of the Night's Watch, but we won't be taking your head today, Jon Snow. Go on. I am acting commander here, Master Aemon." He's like, "Yes, you are, and I don't trust the bastard. He told the truth. And you always know when a man's telling a lie. How did you acquire this magical power? He's like, I grew up in King's Landing,
Yeah,
which
exactly.
this is again two people on the council. The one that says that is the one who's blind, who seems to be the wisest and the oldest of all the Night's Watch guys, right? Which
His hearing is sense is stronger than everybody else's. He hears things and people talking, but as he seems to know a lot more than the rest of them, right? Well, maybe they give it to him because he's got the age, right, too, and they give him a little bit more respect, I guess.
I think
noticed
that's
that with
I
the
guess
show.
that's Othel Yarwick, that guy. That must be him.
On the actual that was on that said that quote.
Yeah, I think that's the old man who's blind, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just see here.
He's not in
Othel
top cast. That's the problem. I want to
Yarwick.
get top cast right
Oh no, that's not him. Never mind. That's another one. Yeah, I forgot what that guy's name is, but yeah, interesting scene. But yeah,
now.
so
Oh,
as
Eamon, Maester Eamon, isn't it?
oh, that is him, right? Okay, yeah,
This
he's a
guy right
Meister.
here,
Yeah, that's him. That's him. There we go. Yeah.
Peter Vaughn.
Yeah.
Vince Vaughn's dad, probably. I'm on.
So then, as you mentioned, we're back over here in King's Landing as they're preparing for the wedding. As preparations for the royal wedding continue, Marjorie Tyrell and her grandmother Olenna are interrupted by Brienne of Tarth, which this is a really fucking funny
She's nice
scene.
and cleaned up too, man. Like,
Yeah, she does. Yeah, but I
cleans
like
up well.
I like this scene a lot because when she comes into the scene and like Olenna sees her, she's like, my word, because they like how big
she's
she is.
fucking big girl, man. Dude, I'd be scared too, man.
Her
if I was
reaction
looking
of
like
her
that.
showing up is priceless,
Mm.
though, man. I love that. So
The
she
dress too. She was in a dress this time. That's what threw me
yeah.
off.
Basically, she requests a private word with Marjorie, and Olenna is delighted to see the truth of the rumors about her, about Brienne, right?
Yeah.
Brienne tells Marjorie the truth of Renly's death and vows to one day exact revenge on Stannis Baratheon, whom she holds responsible. They walk past the statue of King Joffrey standing over a dead direwolf at this moment. And did you notice that, right?
Bro, that was the fucking corniest thing in the world, bro. Yeah. It's so
It's commemorating the victory over the Northern Rebellion. But I made note of in this scene though is that Marjorie plays it real close to the vest still, man. She's a sneaky one, this one, because even in this moment where she basically says, one day I will avenge our king, she says to Marjorie about him getting killed, right? Right, and she's like Joffrey is our king now. She's like, oh, I meant no offense, and you've given none. But it's just like the fact that she corrected her like in this moment, even when she's like, she's already vowed her allegiance to them and she's trying to like do right by them and shit like that. Like she just like corrects her about saying about who like our king, right? Like she's like, no, Joffrey's the king now, right?
Marjorie
She's playing it really close to the vest.
She kind of seems to remind me of like a Cersei style character, like a younger version of that. Like,
well, I think that's why
to both, and she don't know what she's.
I think that's why Cersei finds her threatened by her. Remember how she's like threatening her now? I think that's why, because she sees that in her. I think, and she doesn't trust her. And now she's like marrying her son, so she's like, "What the fuck, right?"
Yeah.
So then we're back over to the Slavers Bay there with the Khaleesi. On the road to Meereen, Daenerys speaks with Missandei, who tells her queen that Meereen would be wise to fear her approach. Daario meets them on the cliffside, and Daenerys expresses her annoyance when he shows her flowers that he has picked. He reveals that the flowers represent a portrait of the landscape and serves various purposes, knowing that her surroundings are important to Daenerys' strategy. The marching army halts, and Daenerys goes to the storefront, discovering a slave child crucified upon a cross. The child is dead, her hand pointing the way to Meereen. And Ser Jorah tells Daenerys that there is one for each mile to the last of the great slave cities, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a messed up scene because you see the child there, like on the actual cross.
Obviously it's not a child.
No,
I
know.
Really depicted like
pretty
good,
but it's dark. Yeah,
the graphics are good.
He says that there's 160 in total.
Yeah, not even graphics. Sorry, guys. That's somebody there. They put something up there, a statue. That's pretty crazy.
Sir Barristan offers to have outriders go ahead to bury them, but Daenerys refuses, ordering that each of them be buried and that their collars removed, but not before she has looked upon each and every face, which, good on her, but that's like a lot to put yourself through, right? Like, I guess she thinks she's doing right by them as a result, right? But that's fucked up.
That's a lot of, yeah. And
Yeah.
he wanted to ride ahead of, yeah, and
Yeah,
take
he
them
was
all
trying
down.
to do right by her, right? But
Yeah,
she's like, no,
because she's a
I should
woman.
expose myself to this. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's what I mean. A lot of independent women back in the day.
yeah,
People talk about they weren't independent. They ruled this shit, man. Whether you knew it or not, they had that fucking edge on everybody.
yeah.
Oh, they were good. I know this is not real life, guys, but it's my real life for now on the show.
That's right. And then back in King's Landing here, we got or is this King's Landing now? Yeah,
Yeah, they're
Sansa
back.
prays alone in the Godswood. She is watched by Jaime and Brienne. Brienne expects Jaime to uphold his oath to return Catelyn Stark's daughters in return for his freedom. But Jaime counters by pointing out the situation is complicated by Catelyn's death and Sansa's marriage to Tyrion. As for Arya, Jaime assumes she is dead because no one has seen her since her father's death.
Yeah.
As Sansa is leaving the Godswood, she is approached by Dantos Hollard, who thanks her for convincing Joffrey to spare his life. Now, if you remember this is the jester guy who previously Joffrey was about to fucking kill him because he was having one of his little tantrums.
Yeah.
And Sansa basically convinced him not to. She distracted him or something. I forgot what the fuck she did, but I think that was last season. But basically, this man, his life was saved because she was able to intervene, right?
Yeah.
And this is when Sansa still was set to be his queen and not Marjorie. Yeah, that's right. And then the scene, he gives her what he claims to be his mother's necklace as a token of gratitude, which he says, like, please, like, wear this and my many thanks.
Rubies or something.
It was a very nice
sapphire.
moment. Yeah, it was a very nice moment, and he was very but of course when he first approached her, it was
drunk
it was
dude.
scary.
I thought he was a weird dude.
Well, he says I drink because my life, like the way it is, essentially, right? I have a reason to be drunk, right? But like the way he approaches her, he like sneaks up on her in the garden, so it's like almost like a creepy rapey scene, like at first, right? So
and you don't know what's gonna happen.
That's
with
right.
her, right?
But
like, you don't know
so it was nice that he didn't have ulterior motives for her in this scene, right? So I kind of liked that, but yeah, okay. So then we're going into the last scene here of the episode, which is quite the doozy here.
Yeah.
Now we're in the Riverlands. Arya Stark and Sandor Clegane are still traveling through the Riverlands on a single horse. Sandor Clegane, is that fucking the Hound's name?
I don't know.
I must be.
Let's take a look.
Yeah, because that's this again. Wherever I got this site with the breakdown of scenes has him listed as Sandor Clegane.
Sandor the Hound Clegane.
So that's who I was saying earlier too when the Oberyn was talking about different people, like because the Hound is the brother of the.
Yeah.
So that's what that. Okay, so interesting. See, these notes are good so far, but I think that they're
you're gonna have to pick them apart.
Yeah,
because there's certain things you want that I know you want that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I think they're good. I'm gonna
highlight what you need.
Yeah,
to use or whatever.
Next time I do it, I think I'm gonna pick it apart a little bit more. So there you go, guys. I'll get better at it.
Because you're fast. I mean, I thought about that too. I was thinking that in my head while I was doing this because I literally got how the scenes that were there, but I've got it a lot more shorter, right?
Yeah, these are very detailed, and I think it gives us some stuff we don't need to know. So I'm gonna go through this next time, but I think it helps. Sure, it does. It is good though. Basically,
like I didn't know where they were in that scene. I just knew they were riding together, right?
But this one will say in the Riverlands, right? I don't mind mentioning that. I mean, I don't mind mentioning that. Also, did you notice at the start they're unveiling different areas now,
and stuff that's coming and popping up. Yeah, I keep fucking seeing that. I always and this one was the only one that didn't have an actual. Was it this one or? Yeah, I think it was this one that didn't actually have an intro before the intro, like a scene before the intro, not like previously on. It just went to right into the fucking episode.
Arya asks him when she's going to get her own horse in this scene, complaining of the Hound's stench. Yeah. He basically says that horses are hard to come by and that he wouldn't give Arya her own horse, even if there was one available. She's the only thing of value he has since he did not take anything of value when he left King's Landing. And I really liked that quote here that he had because he basically says in this scene about he's not a thief. And he basically says, man's got to have a code. That's the Omar line essentially from The Wire too, because speaking of Omar, you mentioned him earlier, but which is so true, right? I mean, I mentioned here when I wrote down in my notes here, it's also a line that I really love from Method Man, where he says, yeah, he says there's a
I,
line.
I
It was
heard Method Man. Did it.
no,
That's
but
another funny thing somebody else talked about.
yeah,
Yeah.
he has a line where he's like, "You if you stand for nothing, then you fall for anything." Which, when I looked it up, is actually a quote from Alexander Hamilton, which I did not know. So there you go. But that's basically, yeah, you have to stand for. You have to have a code. Like every man has to have a code. Like you got to draw the line somewhere. Right? So that's why I really like that he said that,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
it's true. Even a piece of shit like this guy,
Has to do something.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's right. He has
Has
to do something right in his life, right? He's just like, I can't just fucking just be that piece of garbage, right? And basically,
he's gonna bring her, but he's gonna bring it to family, right?
yeah.
Like he's trying to save her.
Arya assures him he has no plans to run, that she has no plans to run off, saying that she would die by nightfall without him, and she has nowhere to go to. The Hound reminds her that she still has an aunt in the Vale, Lisa Aaron, who we know, what's his name, is on the way to go marry now because he wants to get in with that family.
Who's on that?
Baelish.
Oh,
Baelish
yeah,
has
yeah,
gone
yeah,
to the
yeah. I was
Vale,
wondering where he was. Yeah, in this one,
right?
yeah.
And then he says he plans to ransom Arya to her still, right? Basically sell Arya to her to get money. And the two eventually come upon a tavern, both hungry. Arya suggests that they attack the men there, to which the Hound expresses reluctance as there are 5 men.
Well, there's horses too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking at the horses.
Yeah, so just then 2 men exit to relieve themselves. Arya recognizes one of them as Polliver, the Lannister man-at-arms who had previously taken Arya's sword Needle and killed her friend Lami.
Yeah,
She
he looked familiar.
Yeah, she also notices that Polliver still has Needle and runs off to get it back. The Hound chases after her, stopping her at the tavern's door, but they are seen and choose to go in anyways. And they have a huge badass fight at the end of this episode. I mean, the Hound fucks up people left and right in this scene. It's
what
pretty
does
awesome.
he say to her? Who names their sword, right?
Right.
Only
cunts.
cunts.
Yeah.
He's saying it to a fucking 12-year-old. Like, what the fuck?
Of course you named your sword. Lots of people name their swords. Lots of cunts. Yeah.
Cunts, dude. They use that word gets thrown around quite a bit. In this series.
And then there's another great line that he has during this scene. This is probably his best scene yet, I would say. The Hound. I loved him in this scene. How he threw down and caught, because he says like he's like listening makes me thirsty and hungry. I think I'll take 2 chickens.
Yeah.
He's like, you don't understand the situation. I understand if there are any more words pouring out of your cunt mouth, I'm gonna have to eat every fucking chicken in this room. He's like, you lived your life for the king. You're gonna die for some chickens? He's like, someone is, and then he starts fucking throwing down with him, right, bro? It's awesome. What a badass scene in this, but
it was crazy. He did it all, man.
Yeah, because he basically says fuck the king, because they recognize him and they're like, you used to serve the king. He's like, fuck the king, right?
They talked about his brother too. I think they talked about the mountain, right?
Yeah. So basically, Polliver implies that he and his men intend to rape and pillage on their way back to King's Landing and invites the Hound to come along. Polliver says that he and his men wear the king's colors and can do whatever the way they like, to which the Hound leans forward and states emphatically, fuck the king. The conversation then becomes tense and turns into a standoff. They eventually draw their swords. At first, the Hound fights the 5 men alone while Arya stands in the corner. He easily dispatches 2 of them and fights off the rest, stabbing one in the groin. Another, however, gets him on the ground, holding a dagger to his throat. The Hound is able to fight him off, stabbing him repeatedly in the head with his own dagger. Arya then joins the fray, smashing a pot over the head of one of the men and stabbing him with his own long sword. She then slashes Polliver's leg from behind, causing him to fall to the ground. Arya takes Needle from Polliver and stands over him. She echoes what he had said to Lami just before he killed him. Oh, you noticed that, eh? Yeah.
He repeated the words.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't write what he wrote, right? I said,
yeah. Well, he still doesn't recognize her in this scene. He has no idea what she's talking about.
She looks like a boy.
Yeah.
That's the point, right?
Arya then repeats what he said to her when he took Needle. Fine, little blade. Maybe I'll pick my teeth with it. It is at that point when Polliver recognizes her and becomes frightened. Arya then kills Polliver in the same way he had killed Lami by driving Needle slowly into his throat. Arya and the Hound then leave the tavern, taking them a horse for Arya and a chicken. The Hound. What?
White horse, bro. That was a sweet. Like, it looked like
Arya's second kill now. Arya's like she's
moving on up. She doesn't care.
I mean, listen, she has a Hound backing her, so she's
not really worried.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big really fucking guy, right? So she's taking her opportunities where she can get them, and she's seeking revenge, right? Arya's been wronged quite a bit, right?
Yeah, you have to. This is just something that they're on a little mission together. So what can you do?
Absolutely.
There's nothing they can and can't do, right? They gotta
Absolutely.
stick together.
So that's gonna
if he
do it.
wants his money.
Yeah, so that's gonna do it for this episode, guys. Two Swords, really great one. Honestly, a really great, probably the best, I think.
Intro?
Yeah. What are they? Not finale. What do they call it? The season premiere. Yeah, I think this is the best. Probably one of the best season premieres I think we've had, because like at this point we've seen enough of the show to be really invested in everything going on. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not like we're learning all these new characters. I mean, yeah, sure, there's a couple of this in this episode, like I said, the Thens and Oberyn, like they're still
mentioning stuff that might come, right?
Yeah. So I mean, and stay tuned for the next one, guys, because you might find out where the other sword ended up in the next episode, because hence the name Two Swords. There was two swords forged.
That's crazy.
Yeah, there was two swords forged. So stay tuned next week, guys, for the next one. And what is that one called again?
The Lion and the Rose.
There you go. The Lion and the Rose, which we will get to and talk about next week, guys. That is a big one. That is a doozy, so to speak. So make sure to tune in for that one. I'm about to hear JT's reaction here in a moment whenever we get to that one. So that'll be really fun.
Nico's reaction, to be honest with you, to be honest with you, because
So stay tuned for that one, guys.
His favorite character.
That'll be a really good episode to discuss. I'm looking forward to it. All right, guys. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.
Later.
Take care.